The band that I have, it's almost like we are like two separate entities. It's like as a live act, we are a band. And if you're coming to see us, like you're coming to see a band. And like we change a lot of those songs to like fit that kind of narrative.
Awesome. Well, yeah. I'm Adam, and this is about you and your journey in music. And we'll talk about the new EP you just released.
Awesome.
Sweet. So I would start off with born and raised. I did see you born in Sydney. Is that what I read?
Yeah. Born and
So,
raised. Yeah.
born-
Sydney.
what's it like there? What was it like growing up in Sydney?
It's pretty chill. Yeah, it was nice. It was nice being in like the city. I moved around a lot though. Like I moved to all like different places in New South Wales, and I lived in Byron for a while, and that was really fun growing up around the beach and like farm life. Yeah.
Okay. Did you move around? Parents' job moved, or what kind of took you around to different places?
Yeah, my parents just got kind of bored and they would do a lot of like house renovations, house flipping, and
Oh,
like sell
cool.
it, then move somewhere else.
That's awesome. Very, very cool. Do you come from I mean, that's a pretty creative endeavor. I like being able to take out, revamp a home and sell it. Like, do you come from a creative or musical household at all?
Yeah, my mom's a hair and makeup artist. And my dad used to be in advertising, but I always grew up with him like playing music around the house.
Okay. What about an instrument? He was just a music fan.
Yeah, he was a music fan. I think he would play his fair share of like open mic nights if he was a little drunk, but no,
Oh,
he's
really? Does he
yeah,
play what? Does he play guitar or?
yeah, exclusively Bob Dylan songs. That's probably all you'll get from him.
That's amazing. Did you learn? Was that your first instrument, guitar?
My first instrument was it could have been piano, like when you put your kids in like those
Oh,
really
early lessons.
classes, but it was like sax was the first instrument I learned how to
Oh,
play.
did you do like the school orchestra or band or
Yeah,
something
I
like
did
that?
school band for a while, and then I kept doing it when I went to high school because I liked it, but I didn't love the band thing. And then I just did drums for a while, and then yeah, I picked up the guitar when I was like 12 though.
Okay. Wow. I mean, to start off on this, do you still play sax at all or no? Or is that just something you did
I
up until
got
high school?
into it again, like in the beginning of the year. Um,
Really?
yeah, just for fun. I think there's so much pressure when music starts becoming like your income. And it felt hard to like have a connection with instruments that didn't feel like I had to like come up with something.
Mm.
And sax definitely doesn't feel like that, so it's nice.
It's not something, yeah, you have to write something to make it onto your record or anything like that.
Yeah,
It's just like
not at
a fun
all.
thing to screw around with. Yeah, I
Yeah.
heard the EP and I'm like, it doesn't. I don't hear any sax on the EP.
No, absolutely not. Maybe maybe I should pull it out.
That'd be rad. Like distorted or something. I have no idea.
No, yeah.
Um, yeah. Did you like what drew you to the saxophone? Did you just thought it was a cool instrument?
Yeah, I was really into it. I didn't really want to do like flute clarinet kind of thing. It was pretty much my first choice. Though they did try to put me on the tuba, and I was like, I'm a small person, that's a big instrument. I don't think that's gonna work with me.
I did school band in like grade 5 for one thing, and I did clarinet because I'm like, this is small enough to carry. And I thought the reed was cool. And if you stuck your mouth over the whole mouthpiece and blew really hard, it made this like really obnoxious sound.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I thought the reed was cool. And the sax has a reed.
Yeah, the sax is a reed as well. Yeah, that's fun. I don't know, the like impulsive urge to like bite into it is a bit much though. Like,
Or like lick it. Like, I remember that was like you see kids sucking on the reed.
yeah.
Um, so you said you started playing guitar and songwriting at 11? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I started playing guitar when I was 12. I pretty much
Oh,
started
12,
writing
sorry.
as soon as as soon as I started playing. But yeah, I'd always written like poems and stuff since I was a kid. I just like will still find like random journals from when I was like 6 or something with just like just random shit in it. But yeah, I've always loved to write. That's been my thing.
Okay. And then I did read that you were like busking at a very early age as well. You did some songwriting competitions.
Yeah, yeah, I did that. I actually was busking with the sax before I was busking with the
No
guitar.
way.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, my mom was like, "Do it while you're cute. No one will care when you're older." So I was like, she's like, put me on the side of the beach and was like, "You'll make more money now."
That's cool that they you supported that, right? They're like, oh yeah, here's
Oh,
you go out there, open up the case and make a few
yeah.
bucks.
Oh yeah, I was like 7 or 8, and my mom was just like, "You want your own income? You work for it."
Would you do it often, or was it just kind of something you do at random?
Definitely random. But I remember the first time I did it, I made like $50, and I was like, "Holy shit, I am rolling in it."
Yeah. What'd you buy?
I don't know. I think I had like a fucking snap lock bag with just like a whole bunch of coins in it that I would just like slowly withering away buying like lollies before school or something.
Sure. Wow. And then did you start busking with guitar and like playing your own songs as well?
Yeah, I started doing that probably when I was in like the 6th grade,
Damn,
with
that's
one of my
really
friends. And she would like bring her little keyboard out and I would have the guitar. And it probably sounded horrible. Like it probably sounded horrendous. Yeah, and we would play songs that we wrote together, which were just also probably horrible, but probably a little bit endearing. Um, yeah, we did like our local town street. We used to play there, and plenty of times the like local real estate agent would come out and be like, "You need to move. Like you're you like 11-year-olds are getting in the way of our business." Like,
yeah. How are we supposed to sell houses with these 11-year-olds playing music out in front of you?
yeah, literally.
Oh, that's funny. But you did some songwriting competitions as well. Were you young when you went and entered that?
Yeah, I would have been like 13 or something when I started doing that. Um, yeah, those were just at like the local high schools in like that area. I only did that once or twice, just kind of for fun. I don't even know how I ended up there. I don't know if my dad was just like, "There's a songwriting competition" or something. Yeah, I don't really know how that happened, but yeah, I definitely didn't win. That
Oh,
wasn't.
you didn't win.
No.
Okay. And from there, were you, aside from playing with, your friend on the keyboard, but did you start bands and stuff when you were in high school?
I really wanted to, but I think I was really daunted by like I went to a performing arts high school, but I was a local kid because I moved back to Sydney and we moved like right near the school. So I got in like as somebody that just like lived around the area. And there was only like a few streets really where you could get in as a local kid. But everyone else that went to the school like had to audition and like got in for like different talents. And I think I was just a bit like, oh, I'm not actually a music student. So like the music kids probably don't want to make a band with me. So
Oh, you felt like just because you were there without auditioning because you lived close by, maybe
yeah.
kind of got
I mean, they were really divided. Like if you were a local kid, it was like known that you were a local kid.
really. But look at you
Yeah.
now. I mean, that's funny that they would not even give you the time of day.
Yeah, I actually met a girl at one of the shows recently who came up to me and she was just like, "Fuck Newtown," like the school that I went to. And I was like, "Oh, what?" And she was like, "I was also a local kid and like seeing you do this shit is really cool." Cause like they just like didn't give me the time of day. And I was like, "Sick, cool." That's
You're like, thanks. Wow. So when do you start kind of pursuing your own thing? Was it like when you were in high school, you're obviously doing the busking thing and you kind of had songs and everything. You just felt like nobody would want to play with you, or that you got that vibe, but like, were you doing your own thing? Like, did you have your own project at that point?
Yeah, at that point I did. When I moved to Sydney, I like randomly walked into this like studio thing that was like across from my house. And it like had a music note on the front. So I just like walked in and I was like, what do you guys do here? Like, you know, what is this place? I want to do music. And I was like, again, like a 13-year-old just walking into a business being like, can I be here? And the guy that I met, he had like big songwriting credits on some songs, and he just started this business and he was trying to like develop young artists. And he was like, hell yeah, I'll sort of develop you. And then we did like singing lessons and songwriting sessions, and he kind of like put me in with like producers and stuff when I was like a kid. And that's kind of how I learned to like record music super early. And then I had like a big catalog by the time I was 16 because I just like was writing like multiple times a week. And then I got signed to a publishing company when I was like 16.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, it like looking back at it now, it felt so like normal at the time. I think because I just didn't really know what was going on. I was just like, I want to do music. I don't really
Yeah.
care about
Like, there's a
anything
music
else.
note on this door. I'm gonna kick the door in. This person wants to work with me, and now I have a publishing deal. I guess this is just how this works.
Literally. Yeah. Yeah, but I was never like, I don't know, you hear the classic story of like somebody signs a deal and they're like, I fucking made it. Like, I think I signed that deal and then I probably just like went home and cried for the whole day, being like, what did I just do? Like,
Would they put you in, like, at that point, were you writing songs that were being pitched to other artists, like, as with this publishing company, or like what was the role that you played within that?
they would just kind of set up like sessions outside of just like the one or two people that I'd just been working with for like the years before. And then they started putting me in with like pitch sessions, and I just didn't really like that because I was like, maybe if the music thing doesn't really like work out for me, then I'll do the pitch session stuff because it's still fun. But I was like, I would rather be making something that I feel is really reflective of me. But I do really like writing for or with other artists. I think that that's awesome because I just want to like protect those people as much as I can, and I know how hard those sessions can be. So
Mhm.
it's
So
pretty
you
cool.
still will do that, yeah, go in and write with people. But when it comes to like a pitch or pitching a song, they're like, "Oh, we need a song for whatever artist it may be." So you have to sit there with other people and just kind of try to write something that they might want to
Exactly.
take. Yeah.
Really good to be like, what can I write that this person might like? But other pitch songs are so funny. If it's like, we need an anthemic song for the end of this like football movie, and then they'll give you like all of these words that you have to use, and it will be like champion, goal, victory, love, like like win. Like it's hilarious. Greatness.
Yeah. So then you're sitting there trying to come up with something that might fit and then use all of their words. It's like, oh
Yeah.
man, yeah, it's like a total project, right? It's not, you probably
Yeah.
even create. I mean, there's obviously creativity there, but it's nothing authentic to you, I would imagine.
No, but it is kind of fun. I feel like I need to step out of like my life for a minute and do that. And then whenever I come back to like making the music that I like, I'm always like, yeah, I'm glad I did that because I'm reminded about how much I like doing this.
Sure. From that publishing company, were you able to write and release your own music at that time, or did that company kind of want everything you're doing to be
Um,
stuff that you would pitch to other people or try to throw into a sync or something like that?
I was doing a lot more of just like writing myself. I didn't really take a whole bunch of sessions from them. I kind of just stayed working with the people that I was working with. And then I didn't release anything until I was 18. I don't know whose call that was. I don't know if it was my mom, I don't know if it was the team, but probably the best call that they could have made because like I don't think that kids should be putting out music personally. You don't have enough life experience. You don't have enough life experience at 18, but I think that it probably really messes with somebody if you start putting out music when you're like 16, because whose choice really is that at that point?
Mhm. Do you feel like because of that, maybe the song? I've talked to a lot of artists that did, put out songs when they were really young, and then those ended up just getting pulled. they'll always be like, yeah, and I scrubbed those from the internet. I hope nobody could find that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's a lot of the tale when it comes to those
Yeah.
early songs.
Even my first few songs, I'm like, what can I do to get rid of those?
But
Like,
like, it was Fool's Paradise, the first one you put out.
yeah, I don't like hate that song, but I'll never play it and I'll never listen to it.
Really? I mean,
Yeah,
it has over. I mean, it's got millions of plays. Is that something that when you put it out, where people they must have been, drawn into it at some capacity?
I think it was also just like a little bit of that like endearing young singer-songwriter kind of thing. But that's all I had really had experience with. And I feel like if I don't know, I've learnt so much through being in the industry and so much through like writing and then like meeting different people and then like meeting different bands. And then the second that I started playing in bands like for my project, I was like, oh damn, this is where it's at. I should have been in a band. Like that's kind of the reaction. And majority of people like you wouldn't want to be in a band. Like you have to split all the funds and like share the creative decisions. And I'm sort of like, that would be nice.
Okay. Even now, though, it's just your project and you have a band around you, or like, how does that work? Like, were you in a band? Like, okay, this is a separate band from what you're doing as Maya, or no?
The band that I have, it's almost like we are like two separate entities. It's like as a live act, we are a band. And if you're coming to see us, like you're coming to see a band. And like we change a lot of those songs to like fit that kind of narrative. Or we'll add like a ridiculously long interlude after one song so we can just like play a long instrumental. And they're like my favorite people in the world. But yeah, when it comes to the songwriting and like the creation of the music, it still is just me. But I definitely want to experiment with like working with them and seeing what that looks like.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it is a bit scary because I've never written music outside of like just like myself and like a producer and maybe like one other person. It would be hard to like write while everyone's playing and try to kind of like direct everybody.
Yeah. Because right now you just work with one or two people, and it's you have an idea, and you can bring it in and build off of that idea instead of, all right,
Yeah.
let's come up with a song, everybody.
Yeah, it usually will just start like kind of piano or like somebody making a beat or like bringing in like something on a guitar. But yeah, I'm still trying to figure out which process I like the most. I think because I've been doing it since I was 13, it got a little bit monotonous of just like, okay, this is this thing that I do now.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to get back to being like, what do I need from this rather than kind of like getting through it in a way.
Mhm.
I think that majority of artists like get to this point where they're sort of like, why am I doing this again? But
Yeah, because it's been such a long time doing this, like, kind of at the same approach. You feel like you might have to, I don't know, try something else to see if that is something you dig, or
definitely. Or even like working with people that like I've been working with this guy who just has like absolutely no pressure on like getting a song every day because that just becomes exhausting after like 7 years of doing that. And he's really cool. He'll just be like, okay, we can spend the day just like working out these pedals, or like you can bring in like a synth thing and we can figure that out. Like
that's
that's cool. That's the stuff
yeah.
that I like, taking your time to find the pieces before you try to like shove them all in place.
Right. You can spend some more time trying to figure out where you want to go with it. With your, like you said, you had a band. At what point did that happen? Like, had you already put out like some of the other songs that you've released? Like, I mean, with Green or All the Girls Aren't the Same, like when you're releasing those songs, was it still just you?
Yeah. Yeah. I I kind of was releasing during COVID or like just before. I think the first song came out like just before COVID. And then it like hit full throttle in Australia, at least, like absolutely no going out, completely confined to like your room, like you couldn't be more than like 5 kilometers from your house. You couldn't be in a car with anyone that you didn't live with. Like police would stop you on the street and be like, let me see your ID and see how far
Really?
away you are from your house. And if you are outside of the zone, you'll get fined $5,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was hectic. And then like absolutely no gigs, no like eating out, like none of that. So well, at least that was like in Sydney. So yeah, I was just like I put the EP out like mid lockdown. And I think that was the point where we like everybody was just losing it. I think we were just like playing like poker with my housemates every night or something. Like yeah, so it kind of just existed virtually for a really long time.
The Don't Kiss Your Friends EP? That
Yeah,
one? Oh wow. Okay.
it was kind of online. And then we played a gig the first night that the lockdown lifted. And or it wasn't when the lockdown lifted, because the lockdown had lifted, and then you could still like go out to clubs, or you could go out to like bars, or like you could see a live show, but you had to be seated, like you couldn't get up. You could like get
Mm.
up to go to the bathroom, but like
Were you in like
you
a pod or whatever? They had like the like roped off boxes.
just
They had
like
that here in the States, I remember.
you had roped off boxes.
Yeah, it was like you can only fit like 5 like people that you came with like in these little like sections. Like they had
Yeah,
like these areas that they created. Well, first it started with like these car drive-in shows, which were like a total
yeah.
nightmare.
Some of them
Um,
were kind of cool, at least out here, because they would happen like kind of in the bush.
really, that's awesome. The ones I saw are the one I went to one and it was like in a stadium, baseball stadium parking lot. I'm like, this really isn't the vibe. Uh,
That's
but yeah. But so you guys played the first, like you actually had a chance to play a show when everyone was standing up. You're like, okay, this is it.
We played the first night that the dancing rule was lifted. This is like some this is so stupid. But the gigs were open, and then at first it was like you had to be seated like at a table and you couldn't move.
No
And then
dancing.
after a while it was like you could stand, but you can't dance or sing, which was so weird because what is the point of that?
You can
Um
stand, but you can't move or talk. You just have to stand there in silence.
Yeah, because they were trying to argue, because you still had to wear masks, and they were trying to argue like if you were singing, you could be like spraying
Spitting.
on drums. But yeah, we played that night that the dancing rule was lifted, and it was like I think it was like 6 p.m. that night you could dance, and I think it was like right before we were going on, and it was really funny because I just remember everyone, it wasn't like you would expect everyone to just immediately be like, yeah, we can dance like this. It was more like just that classic thing of like when one person stands up in a standing ovation and then no one knows if they should stand up too, or they should just like let that one person keep standing. It was very much that sort of like you had to like really work for people to start moving, and it was just like, come on, we haven't been able to do this. And then gigs were weird for a while. People just like didn't know how to act or like what to
Right.
do.
Yeah, it would. I'm just thinking of like maybe like a middle school dance or something. Like everyone's just kind of separated, and one
Mm-hmm.
person goes in the middle, and they're just doing something, and it's like, oh, okay, let's try, and then it just slowly kind of builds this
Yeah.
little thing. That's so funny. I didn't know if you were gonna say, oh yeah, like we started, and it was like, all right, the dance ban is lifted, and everyone went nuts, but it doesn't sound like that was the case at all.
No, it was like a really slow incline to get people back to just like moving, because people were just like so used to almost like getting yelled at by security, being like, you have to
Yeah, just like PTSD. Like, okay, I don't want to get yelled at
literally.
now.
Actually, I
Is
went to
this
a club
okay?
during that period of time, and it was so funny because I hadn't really been out, because I was like, I was like 18, and then lockdown happened. So it was like I hadn't
Couldn't
really
even go
gone out.
in legally and go into the clubs at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
But like went into a club and it was all seated in a club, and I was like, this is probably the weirdest experience. Like people just like on drugs, but like having to sit down being like
Oh wow. Yeah, that's pretty funny. But you put that out, like putting that out during the I mean, putting out your EP during the pandemic, you had a I mean, the songs were hitting really well, right? I mean, people dug what you were doing. Was that just all must have just all been based off of stuff online?
yeah, it was all kind of streaming and like doing DIY music videos with my friend Merle, who we like constantly work together. We did like a bunch in my apartment. They don't really look DIY. They kind of look like they were done in a studio. But yeah, just I don't know, really being online and I feel like it was also a period of time where a lot of musicians weren't releasing music that were like actually established because they couldn't tour it, and like that's a massive part of the income.
Sure.
um so I think there was like a weird moment where like there wasn't a whole lot of music coming out, and like the stuff that was coming out was kind of more DIY, and it was kind of more like emerging artists being like, or people finding music during lockdown. That was more of the music that was kind of
Yeah,
being put
happening, right? I mean, yeah, because if you a lot of big bands had records about to come out or albums about to come out, and it was like, oh well, let's just hold this for the next 6 months to see what happens.
definitely, yeah, there was a lot of that, um which
You,
kind of worked well for me in a way, in a very selfish way. Not that COVID worked well for my brain, but for the for the music it did. But yeah, it was definitely very like crazy coming out of COVID, and like, you know, like I signed a record deal internationally in COVID over Zoom. And like
wow, well, that's
when I talk to
bizarre.
people, yeah, when I talk to people now, they're like, oh yeah, you know, when you sign and like the label flies you out and they wine and dine you. I was like, no, I signed in my living room in my
You're
pajamas.
like, I know nothing about that at all. Oh my gosh. But was that based off of, I mean, how did the labels find you? Was it based off of like, did you have a viral moment, or was it just because you were getting streams on a lot of your stuff that was happening?
They signed me after I released Apricots, and I actually, to be completely honest, do not know really. I think it was just like probably my managers emailing people or whatever. It was like a classic thing where I actually, a large part of COVID was like taking Zooms with different record labels and like meeting different teams and being like trying to gauge a person over a screen that you've met and you're talking to for like 40 minutes to be like, hey, I'm about to give you probably a large part of my life, and all of my catalogs and the rights to my songs, and I have to try and gauge if you might be a good or a bad person over a Zoom conversation.
Right. They're just in a suit with just no pants below, just like hanging out in like sweats. Like,
So,
just, yeah. Oh man.
mm.
Wow. I can't have, yeah, that's you can't get it really a vibe, I would imagine. Or you can
No, but
kind of get a vibe, but not, yeah.
at the same time, I also am like, I feel like I've thrown you off your rhythm. Like if you kind of, you know, can't do the thing that you've been doing for years, and you kind of have to be a little bit more real. Um,
Sure.
but yeah, I ended up in a great place, and my team is amazing, and you know, so many amazing women that I work with on my label, and they're just awesome. So I definitely picked the right one for sure.
100%. Wow. And then once you had that done, and I know you just did a big headlining tour, but when do you start working on this EP that you just put out?
Um, this EP was like a long time coming, just
Okay.
in the way of like doing heaps more of those sessions, heaps of one-off sessions, heaps of just like meeting 100 LA producers and then being like, oh my God, this is just so insanely overwhelming. And just like writing all the time. And I
Did
think,
you, sorry, I
hmm?
don't mean to cut you off, but I'm just curious. Did you leave Australia to go to LA when you started working on this?
Yeah, I
Oh,
left
okay.
Australia. I came out here on like two separate occasions, like a few months at a time, and then like went back home. And so like half of the EP is like written in LA and the other half is written at home. And I mean, I think it was a really valuable experience. I think working with so many different people actually just like taught me what I didn't want to make. which kind of makes it easier to figure out where you are going, because you're just like, well, I know that I don't like that, and I know that I don't like that, rather than being given like all of this blank space to be like, what do you like? You're like, I don't know.
So working with, do you feel like you can hear, I mean, you as you being able to hear like, okay, like I know this was done in LA versus Australia, like was there a totally different vibe in both countries when it came to writing it? And maybe not, I'm just curious.
Yeah, a little bit. And then we got a lot of the people that I met on that trip to like add different things. It was a really collaborative EP in a way that like I would sort of come in with an idea, or like like occasionally we would like write from scratch. Um, and then I feel like there was so many people involved actually in the creation process and behind the scenes and in the videos and in all the conversations. So I think that's kind of where like the analysis paralysis title comes from, because it was just like you have so many people and so many opinions and so many things involved and so many like decisions to make that it's like I don't know. I'm paralyzed with the amount of options. But yeah, I think that there's like a little bit more of a distinct style when I write in Australia, because I write alone. So it is a bit different. But yeah, we got some other people from out here to like play on the records as well. Which was really cool. It was cool to like send different songs around that I made with like one of my close friends, and to like see how other people added or changed or like heard different things in it. So many different shapes of those songs. But yeah, I don't think I'll make an EP like that again. It was a long process.
Oh, is that right? I mean, I would imagine that'd be exciting though, to have something that you and someone else created and have it more like, I would imagine it's more like bare bones, and then you send it out and you get this thing back and you're like, oh, let's hear what came out of this.
Yeah, yeah. I think the song Lola was definitely the one that changed the most, because I sent it to Andrew Wells out here, who's like a crazy, incredible producer. And he just like really amped up the track to make it like feel really live and really like roomy with the drums. And I was like, yeah, this is cool. This is really cool.
Hmm. Yeah, it's an amazing EP. I like all the songs a lot. I really love the last one. Just like it's got this like slow kind of cool vibe to it.
Thanks. I always trust people that like the last one.
Oh, that's good. No, I really like that one because I had a chance to hear the whole EP, and then I think you added that was one of I think two that weren't released as singles.
Yeah,
And I was like,
yeah.
damn, like this is such a really cool song. Because I had heard the other ones quite a bit, and I listened to the album or the EP all the way through, and it's the last one. And I was like, this is like that was the one that really I was like, damn, like this. Not that like I said, not that the rest of it isn't awesome. But I was
Mhm.
really stoked
That's
on that last one.
definitely the direction that I wanna step into and sort of challenge, um because it is kind of more of that like band influence, and listening to like heaps of soundtracks randomly and heaps of like Radiohead, especially their early stuff, because their early stuff was just like them figuring out like music.
Hmm.
And I don't know, it's controversial. A lot of people do not like that first album, but I really like it in the way that like it just proves that like you can go anywhere from that first point.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I think that's kind of going to be the same with me, where I don't see myself like consistently making any kind of music. Like, I don't know, I wrote like a fucking Rage Against the Machine song yesterday, and I was like, I have no idea how this fits into my project
Really?
at all. But I just you can't like walk in and like decide the kind of artist that you are going to be. You kind of just have to follow it, and then you end up wherever you end up.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. I was looking at your Instagram and I think there's a photo of you with a Rage Against the Machine shirt, not very far down on the
Yeah, yeah,
your I was like, that's badass. I love Rage Against the Machine.
yeah, I've been re-listening to that a lot recently. I feel like I watched that Woodstock documentary and I was like, damn, Rage Against the Machine is so good.
Yeah, there's this really I had this I'm much older than you. I had this VHS tape that they released when Evil Empire came out, and it was them a bunch of different shows like kind of clipped together into one thing. And I think they're playing like South America somewhere, and there's the amount of people is so there had to be a couple 100,000 people. It's just like a wave. It looks like it's just a wave of people. It's
Right.
insane.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
If
Yeah. Love that.
yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it's like on YouTube at this point, but it was like I remember just watching that as a kid, like, damn, this is wild.
That's insane. Even like that corn set from Woodstock, like that crowd is crazy.
Hmm.
Crazy. And there's even like stuff like pulling influences from like certain corn songs where not necessarily in the sonics, but just like in the way that it was written and recorded. Like there's some songs where they just keep it the like recording rolling while he's like screaming on the floor, and just like you can hear the band members like hesitation to be like, do we keep going?
Do we keep playing, right?
But you just don't. Music is so overproduced in these days that you don't get those moments where it's like the hesitation of like, oh, I don't know really what's going on, but I'm going to keep playing. Like it's very rare that things are like one take or like a lot. I
Hmm.
don't know. I really want to get back into that because it's just like keep the mistakes in. Like that's what makes it real. And yeah, I feel like I'm
Yeah, like
definitely
just that rawness of it all. I love like there's adds like such a cool like grit, I feel like, to the song.
definitely, and like it's just humanizing it.
Mhm.
And I feel like music is definitely going in that direction. I think I'm definitely going in that direction. I'm just learning so much more from like getting to this point. I feel like my career up to this point has just been like figuring music out. Like I feel like that first EP was just like me learning like how to songwrite and record, and then the second EP felt like me being like, oh, okay, I can use my voice as an instrument, and like I can use all these references that I really like, um and I can like get out all these emotions. And I feel like the next project that I work on is going to be more like, oh, I want to talk about things outside of myself, and I want to talk about the environment that I'm in rather than just like all the internal things.
Mhm.
um and I want to get way more into like tones and sounds and not using references, because as good as references can be, it can also like confine you to like specific things that you like want to be. That's what I'm trying to unlearn, I think.
Mhm.
Being like picturing yourself as a certain artist or like looking a certain way, and like being like, I am going to be like that, or like I am going to market myself like that. I think it's a kind of a bit backwards, and I think a lot of artists are starting to be like, I'm just writing music and then yeah, seeing where
Yeah,
it goes.
where it goes. Yeah, yeah. No, I
Yeah,
love that. It's just it's interesting that you brought up being like stuff overproduced and just like the grit and stuff. I remember still like looking at the back of going just real quick back to Rage Against the Machine. You go back to the back of it and it says like every instrument or every sound you hear on this recording is made by vocals, drums, bass, and guitar. Like it says it on the back. I know at
right.
least the first record, the self-titled and the on Evil Empire. It might on all of them, but like it just because the sounds that Tom Morello was getting out of the guitar, it sounded like other things, but it was like he had to spell out that nothing is not a guitar or a bass or anyway. But it's just
That's
interesting,
cool.
yeah,
That's really
to look at those little things. I know you obviously have a huge song with Flume and Say Nothing, and that being the number one song on Triple J radio. Is that that's got to be a massive accomplishment? Was that something that I heard just from what I know about it, and in the country of Australia, that's something everyone sits down and listens to. Like, what's going to be the number one song, and
yeah.
to be the number one song, that what was that moment like?
It's definitely weird. I don't think it's really. I don't know when it will click. I don't know if it'll click in like 10 years or something, but yeah, I grew up always listening. It's like that day, that like countdown day in Australia on that radio station is like an actual like holiday like in Australia. Like every single year from like the beginning of high school, it was always the day that you would go out with all your friends and you'd start the day with the radio playing, and then you'd figure out like they would go backwards from like 199 from the day before. And then they would get all the way up to 1, and 1 would always be around like 9 p.m. or something. And by that point, everybody was probably super drunk, and like it's in the middle of summer and it's nighttime, but it's still really hot, and everybody is at the park like listening to the same thing, or everyone at the beach is like listening to the same thing. Like it's a really special day, and I can remember every single one really fondly. And I remember listening to it when I was like 16, and I was like, damn, it would be really cool to get in this someday, like with a song, but I doubt it would ever happen. So yeah, it is really surreal, especially because I wasn't in Australia when the countdown happened. Like I was on tour in Germany and it was snowing, and I was like, this is so weird.
Yeah, you didn't have that experience. Like it's summer, we're partying, and the song is gonna hit #1. Because you don't know, right? If it's even gonna make the countdown or where it's gonna land.
No. So like I woke up in the morning and started listening to it, and I caught like the last 12 or something. And then when it got to like Steve Lacy, I was a bit like, oh, I'm fucked. Okay.
Right.
Like, I was like, it didn't even make it. Like yeah.
But yeah, I know. And you look at the ones that came, Steve Lacy, Lizzo is like on the top. It's like crazy. And then #1. I mean, wow.
Yeah, it really is kind of a testament to Australia in the way that like that country will back Australian music so hard, to the point where I'm sure there's people in that top 10, or like bands in that top 10, that people from other countries would be like, I've never heard of this band in my life. But it's because they really champion those artists. And it's just so funny. Like I've been in the Hot 100 for like the last 3 years, but it was like the first year it was like 199. I'm pretty sure I came in.
You're in though.
And the year later I got I think it was 101. So I just didn't make it into the top 100.
Oh.
A few bands messaged me and they were like, dude, we got 101 a few years ago, and then like we came like 30 a year later. Like it's the sweet spot. Like I guarantee something good will happen to you next year. And like multiple people messaged me that also were in that place. And then a few of them messaged me the next year being like, I fucking told you.
Yeah, look where you're at now, #1. That's incredible. That's so cool. Well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for doing this, man. You've been awesome. I know you're coming here to the States in October, I believe.
Yeah, I'm actually here now. I'm in LA right now.
Oh yeah, you're here now, but you're touring here. Have you done a lot of touring here in the States or not yet?
No, I was on the Flume tour, but I haven't done anything for my stuff yet. So it's kind of scary being like square one out here, but it's also really fun because it's like I can kind of do whatever I want. No one really has anything to like go off of.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm touring with Nessa Barrett in October.
That's exciting. I know I'm in Nashville now. I'm originally from San Diego, but I'm in Nashville now, and you're playing here, Marathon Music Works. So I'm gonna have to make it out. Check out your set.
Can chuck you on the guest list. You should definitely come.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Yeah, I definitely want to see you. So I did see you're coming here, and so I'm stoked on that. But I appreciate you doing this. Thank you so much. I know it's early in LA. I have one more question for you before I let you go. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Advice for inspiring artists. I guess yeah, like a reference point is always really good for the music that you want to make, but like think about why you're doing it and why you want to do it. And it does take like really hard work to get somewhere, but like if you enjoy the process, it won't feel so hard. So that's kind of the main thing that you need to evaluate, is like if you actually enjoy making the music outside of like everything that comes with it, because that can be the most rewarding part, is just like, don't focus on numbers, don't focus on who's paying attention to you, or if anybody, if you're building a team, like focus on making the art, and then everything else will come with it. And if you are at a point where you're, you know, people are interested and they want to sign you, really fucking read that contract. Like, holy shit. Bringing it backward.